Welcome to the TxVSN Online Learning Conference. We're glad you could join us for this session, Ninja Strategies for Teaching Online, What Great Online Educators Do Differently, presented by Desiree Mosser. This session will run until 11:30 a.m. Central Time. I'm your host, Kayla Platt. Our facilitator is Heather Bonikowski. Our captionist is Bernicia Durden. To view the captions, open to the Window tab at the upper left and select Show Closed Captioning, or use hotkey control F8. Sign language interpretation is provided by hired hands. Please notice the participant window to the left of your screen. Here you'll find the buttons to raise your hand, respond to polling, and use emoticons. The chat window is where you can ask questions during the presentation. Please note that moderators will be able to view the all chat comments. Finally, the talk button in the upper left section of your screen can be used if you have a microphone, and there is an opportunity to use it during the presentation. It will be blue when your microphone is live. And now I'm going to hand it over to our presenter, Desiree.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me and see me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Listen, you know, as online educators, we don't do hair, makeup, and put on real people clothes very often. So I could not go through this and not at least have a moment of FaceTime with you all. Give me a high five or a smiley face if you can totally relate, right? Only wearing a dressed up shirt, people. From the waist down, still PJs on my end. So thank you so much for coming today. I am so happy to be here and presenting, and I always love to have a face with a voice, even if it's with other educators or others, the students that I'm working with. So that's really why it was so important for me to be able to put myself on camera so you can actually put a face with the voice that you'll be hearing today. So I'm going to go ahead and take myself off of video now because I understand that it's important that we have our interpreters have the video component for today's session. So good to see you all. All right, so let's jump in. Okay, how many of you, if you could give me a green check, so that is up above where our names are listed underneath the little smiley face, to the right of the smiley face at the end there. Can you give me a green check if you have a QR reader on your smartphone to use today? If you don't, that's fine. We'll be able to work around it. Oh, good, but I see lots of you do. Awesome. All right. So any of the free ones actually will do. I haven't had an issue with, using any of those freebies. So if you have a moment to download one on your smartphone, that would be super. Because not only today am I going to share some information about what great online educators do differently, I'm also going to insert some tools that you can use with your online students. So it's kind of twofold. And a QR reader is one of those apps that can be really useful in an online classroom. So I want to give you some ideas for using those too. Really quick, just a little bit about me so you know who you're speaking to, other than I'm sitting in hot, humid Florida at the moment, and it's supposed to be 93 degrees. And as soon as you walk outside, you have an immediate sweat going on. I taught for 6 years in a traditional classroom. I taught 8th grade mostly, physics, chemistry, science classes. I taught 8 years with Florida Virtual School where I taught earth space science, leadership skills development class, and was also a lead teacher. And I have been with Pasco eSchool for 3 years as their instructional coach. A lot of the information that you're going to see today, I actually worked closely with a gentleman by the name of Maui Askedam. If you have not heard of him, I would suggest to you take a look online, look up his name, and check him out. He's a speaker that travels all over the United States to share his story of when he was a child growing up coming from refugee camp over to America and ended up a Harvard graduate. So it's a really inspirational story. So this information that you will see today, he and I worked together on and was originally presented at an iNACOL conference last year. So we're going to start off, I want to use a tool called Answer Garden. If you've never heard of it, it's pretty nifty. I am going to go ahead and put the link for this particular Answer Garden in the chat box, just in case you do not have a QR reader on your phone. If you would go ahead and go to this application, you will be presented with a question. And I would like for you to answer the question in the box that's provided to you, and then press Submit. And then you'll want to refresh your screen from time to time so that you can see everybody else's answers. I'm going to go ahead and give you a moment to do that. And the question you're answering is, what is the best thing about teaching online? This tool, Answer Garden, is a free application that you can use. Really easy to set up. Takes probably less than a minute to actually create one of your own. And you can send this out to your students to get feedback from them, and it's just a unique and interesting way to get feedback other than maybe just a regular email. It's going to be a little bit more exciting. So as you are refreshing your screen, you're going to see lots of answers popping up. And it looks like one of the biggies here, or the biggest, is what? What is the one thing that everybody is putting on there as one of the big reasons why they love to teach online? Please feel free to type that right in the chat box. Yeah, Doris, that's right, flexibility. We do have a lot of flexibility. All right, I hear someone's microphone on. Did someone have a question? Okay. Oh, Sharon, did you have a question? Oh, nope. I think we're good now. Jennifer, I see a microphone popping on. I want to make sure that I'm not skipping over anybody who has a question here. All right, so if I'm looking at our Answer Garden, flexibility is definitely the biggie that stands out. So let's talk about that, right? Today we're going to talk about actually 4 different areas. These 4 areas came about from over 100 teachers being asked certain questions about what they do to be awesome online educators. And with these 100 educators, actually they had 500 years of experience. So we're talking folks that have been in the education field for a while, giving their feedback as far as what makes an awesome educator. So we're going to look at relator, organizer, communicator, and detective. So we refer to it as rocked, right? This is not to be confused with dork. So please don't leave here today and share with others that we talked about the dork topics. This is rocked, R-O-C-D, right? Deal? No one's going to leave here today sharing with others that we talked about dork. So the first myth that we're going to bust today is the relator myth. Online teachers cannot build relationships with their students. What do you think about that? When you hear that, and I know probably everybody in this room has at some point heard someone say, you can't have relationships with those online students. That is totally, unheard of. You're just on the computer. That you don't talk to them enough to build those relationships. Could you please put in the chat box, or if you have the ability to actually type on the screen, could you tell me how that makes you feel when you hear this? You can feel free to grab the microphone too if you'd like to share that way. So I see lots of not truths, don't agree, myth busted. This would be really sad for the students. Oh my goodness, it sure would. Feels like I'd be speaking with someone from Stone Age. If this was true, oh my goodness, you guys are awesome. Look at you putting all of these comments. Thank you so much. It makes you frustrated because some students feel the same way but have to build that relationship. Yeah. I get defensive too, Kayla. I totally get defensive. It drives me nuts. And a lot of times you do kind of feel like those folks are from the Stone Age. They're just not ready for the 21st century. Some people are old school, right? And either they're not willing to change or they're not ready to change. Sometimes they're just not at that place yet to wrap their brain around how things are changing. So that's a really good, important comment too. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about what these Ninja educators had to say about the relator myth. Students might open up to you more over the phone than they would in person. I would totally agree with that. How many times do you talk to a student on the phone and you get to the point where you're like, oh gosh, I probably would have been better off if I did not hear about how crazy Aunt Susie, I don't know, busted open a beer in Walmart. Like, I don't want to hear these, right? I don't need to hear these stories. But they feel so comfortable that they will share that information with you. Teachers who had students in brick and mortar and online say they connected way more because they have one-on-one contact with students and not a big classroom full of students at one time. In an online school, you have 150 classes of just one. You can really focus in on each one of those students. So as far as the relator myth, that one is totally busted. Have you ever called a student so many times that you had to change your number because they caught on to you? Like, they know your number and they are now dodging you? And so you went next door to your neighbor's phone to make that call? Or maybe you put up a Facebook ad asking your students to turn work in. Maybe if the student lives close to you, maybe you even jumped in your car and you're like, that's it, I'm driving to their house and knocking on their front door. I have had it. Anyone in here feel any of those ways or have done any of those things? I know I am not the only one in here. It does sound invasive, but sometimes you get to that point, right, where you're like, I have to do something. What can I do? What can I do? You've used different numbers. I've used different numbers for sure. You get to your wit's end. Like, I have to be able to do something to reach out to this student so I can get a hold of them. Did you know that when over 10,000 students were surveyed, and we talk in Florida, we have welcome calls. I'm not sure if that's the same in Texas or not, but it's really when your new students are placed into your online class, we reach out to them to introduce ourselves. And we asked 10,000 students, what kind of welcome call or initial contact do you want from your teachers? Okay. So 8% of them were like, I want no communication, none with my teacher. 21% of them said, open-ended, I'll discuss anything. 27% of them said, I really want a chance to get to know my teacher and for them to get to know me. And then 44% of those students said they wanted that first phone call to be really short and to the point. So I show you this because I think sometimes we question whether or not students really want to talk to us. Right? Sometimes they can kind of dodge our communication with them. But with 10,000 students surveyed, this is showing us that 92% of our students actually want to talk with us. Go figure, right? Sometimes it might feel like a lot less than that because trying to reach out to them can be a struggle at times. But 92% of our students, they really actually want to talk to us and get to know us and share with us about themselves. So when you start to feel frustrated, if you're having a hard time reaching out to your kiddos, just know they do want to talk to us. Sometimes they don't always show that, but the majority of them are interested in speaking with us. So here's some Ninja Educator strategies that those 100 awesome online teachers shared. And Alicia, I'm reading your comment in there, and you're right. Sometimes they want to communicate with us, but aren't always aware of it. Once they hear that we're not some scary monster on the other end of the line, things become a lot easier. Wouldn't you agree? If they get to hear the sound of our voice, it makes a big difference. And when they hear that we're not computers, hello, Alicia, thank you for joining my science class. You know, when we're real, true people, that makes it even better for them. They feel more comfortable. Oh, Jean, that is a great idea. Anytime you ask them about themselves, they can't wait to share that information. So you ask them about prom and the pictures came flying in. Here are some other strategies that were shared too. So when you're initially talking to that student on the phone, I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the rules and the regulations of what it means to take an online class. Because we want to get it all out there. We want them to know what our expectations are. But it's just as important to get to know them as a student and get to know their family, because you'll really find out some pretty interesting things about our students when you take that time to ask them. So find that one thing about each student, like their passion, what they enjoy doing. I always ask them if they enjoy skydiving. That usually gets a chuckle. Every once in a while, I'll get a yes to that. And then when you talk to them again or when you're emailing them, follow up with that and ask them how it's going. Make sure to tell your kiddos about yourself. You know, even have pictures of you and your family up on your class announcement page, or of your pets, your cats, your dogs, so that they can get to know who you are as a person. That's just as important. And then why not send some random text messages just to say hi and check in? It doesn't even have to be class related, right? Just, hey, just wanted to reach out and say hi and see how you were doing. Hope you're having a great week. By doing that, by sending a random text message, what is that saying to your students? What do you think? If we're just randomly reaching out, what is that saying to our students about us? That's right, Vita. It's telling them that we care about them, that we're thinking about them. Right, right. You know, it's easy to be hunting down those students who aren't doing what they need to be doing and sending text messages about missing work and why haven't we seen them in the class. But it's like probably as important, if not more important, to let them know that we're thinking about them other than just trying to hunt them down. And a lot of times, if you are just checking in on those struggling kiddos who don't tend to keep up in the class, if you're sending them random texts just to say hi and it's not about, you know, you're not turning work in again, that can help turn a student around, actually, because they start to feel like you really care about them and it's not just all about missing work. You like really care about them as a person. So those are some Ninja strategies that were shared with us from Ninja Educators. What is something you do to build relationships with your online learners? What is something you have found that really helps you to build those relationships with your students online. We only mentioned a few examples, and I know with a room full of amazing educators like yourselves, we can have a lot more examples that we can share out and learn from each other. So feel free to type on the whiteboard in front of you, or go ahead and put it in the chat box, but let's share some of those ideas. So Diane says that she uses Skype, and I see someone puts comics that students enjoy into announcements. Somebody uses Google Hangouts. Jean puts a PowerPoint of Halloween costumes for animals. And then they have a class vote on the favorite. Oh, that's so awesome. And you give a prize if they can guess which 5 you prefer. Love it. So something to pull them in, their interest in something else other than course-related information. And that's okay. It doesn't all have to be class stuff. We can have fun with our students. Having fun is important. The fun can get sucked right out of us as teachers. And if we don't force fun into our classrooms, nobody else is going to do it for us. Share with students Chinese culture clips. Nice. Awesome. Weekly announcements with a joke or saying. Scheduling live chats in the course to just hang out and visit. I love that, Alicia. Cool. So there's lots and lots of possibilities here to reach out and bring our students in and really have them feel a sense of community and like we care about them, because we do. But we have to remember that, from our end, we need to show those things. And that might be fun feedback or, using images or pictures, having a student spotlight. Those are all great examples of things that we can do for our students. Thank you for sharing, because I'm sure that someone in here has just got an idea that they can move forward and use with their own students, and that's what it's all about. Sending birthday cards. I love it. Playing online related games together. Oh, look, Alicia says she loves that birthday card idea. There you go. Oh, online content related games. Thanks, Sharon. I was like, not sure what that word was. Thank you for clarifying. I was hoping no one would even notice that I skipped right over it. You update the weekly banner with a catchphrase or a cool picture, something about my students. Fabulous. Great. So lots and lots of ways. Thank you again for sharing those ways that you reach out to your students with the rest of us. This is my favorite. The organizer myth. If you take a look, you can totally see where I'm going with this, right? What do we hear about online teaching just from looking at these pictures? Who can relate or tell me where I am going with this? Anyone have any idea? I see a few of you are typing. Thank you. I'm going to hold off. Not staying focused. Distractions. Online teachers don't really teach. Come on. Outside distractions away from the teaching. Oh, it's so easy. You guys get to stay home and do your laundry and take naps and watch your soaps. You can totally do whatever you want. Eat your bonbons. You're not teaching. Yeah, totally. You go to yoga classes all day. You're never home, actually. You do yoga all day long. That's all you do. I have heard, this for real, Stephanie, I'm right there with you, always. My house looks more of a mess now, being at home for every day, all day, compared to when I actually left my house to do work, right? So it's more of a hot mess now that I'm home than it was when I actually left the building. It's so sad. So I think we probably have heard one or more of these comments regarding online teaching. So the myth is online educators have so much free time that they can watch TV all day in their pajamas. Now, I'm not going to lie, I might wear my pajamas for the majority of the day, but I can tell you right now, I am not watching TV all day. I sometimes forget to shower. I'll be truthful. When my husband looks at me and actually questions the last time that I took a shower, I know it's bad. And when I can't, like, immediately answer him, and I have to think for a moment about when was that last time that I actually took a shower, you know that's not a good sign. That's really not a good sign. So let's talk about this organizer myth. Ninja educators, dispel the organizer myth. My husband is walking through the door with my kids, and I have not yet brushed my hair, and I want to yell, no, go back. I am not ready for you yet. And we're talking about when kids come home from school at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Haven't brushed hair, haven't brushed teeth, haven't changed clothes, probably don't even have deodorant on at this point. Go back, not ready. Between monthly calls, welcome calls, activation dates, DBAs, live lessons, and grading for 5 classes, I always feel like I'm 2 days behind. Can anyone relate with that? Number 2, anyone relate with feeling like you can never catch up, like you're always a few days behind? Kind of like a hamster wheel at times. I know that I feel that struggle. And then sometimes you feel like things are going really great and you have it all under control. And then somehow the next day, it's like all heck breaks loose and it's all just a mess again, and you don't know how it got that way, right? There's always something to be done. That's right, Frederick, always. It's not going anywhere. Many people quit because they are not organized enough to handle all the details. We have so much coming our way in so many different directions that if you are not organized in some shape or form, it's going to be like constantly trying to keep your head above water. So my suggestion today and what our Ninja educator shared was the importance of having schedules for yourself, a daily, weekly schedule. How many of you in here, if you could give me a green check by using the little drop-down box up above our names, how many of you in here actually have a schedule that you follow? Not like diet schedule where you do it for a day and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't lose 5 pounds yesterday, I'm falling off this bandwagon. But like a schedule that you really stick to and you follow each day. All right, I see some check marks coming up. Good. I see some red X's. Thank you for your honesty. That's just as important. All right, so we have a handful of folks that do use schedules each and every day. And then we have probably the majority of us in the room actually don't really use schedules. And listen, I was right there with you for years. Did not see the necessity of having a schedule at all. I was doing fine. I was good. I was happy closing myself in the bathroom and crying at night because I couldn't get all my stuff done. That was the norm for me. So I didn't see the need for a schedule, but I'm telling you guys, if you don't have one that you stick to or follow closely to, you're doing yourself a disservice because it really does make a big difference. So on the screen in front of you, you're going to see 2 different examples of schedules. One of them, the one up at the top here, is, hold on one second, let me get my little pointer guy, here he is. The one up here is more like a block schedule. So Monday morning, this person does this. In the afternoon, they do this. And then down at the bottom in the evening, they have this scheduled. You don't see this because this is not there, but you get the idea. And they do this for each day of the week, right? Another type of schedule is your daily schedule. So you have like a check-off list, and it's just Monday. Here's all the things that get done on Monday. And you would just go and you check off as they get done. If you notice, what do I have scheduled right down here where my little pointer is? What is on that screen right next to that? It says eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sometimes if we don't schedule stuff in, it's not going to happen, right? So this might be an extreme. Some of you may not have an issue with that, but I know if I sit my butt in a chair and start working, I can go 10 hours sometimes, and it seems like 2 hours pass because I get caught up, right? So if you're one of those folks that forget to shower, you can add that right in underneath here, shower, so that you don't even have to think about it, and then you can check it off, right? If you go to the link that I put into the chat box, I've actually loaded that daily schedule up for you. That's the one that some of our teachers here at Pasco eSchool use, but you can tweak it to fit your needs. So I figured I would go ahead and supply you with that. If you don't have a schedule, please feel free to download that and adjust it however you feel fit. And use that. And remember, it's not like that diet thing where you do it for a couple days and then you stop doing it. That's me. I do a diet for 2 days, and if it doesn't work immediately, forget it. You have to stick with it for a couple weeks. You have to give it time to work, and you will notice a difference, I promise. Okay, any questions about scheduling? Or anyone want to share any information about their schedules? You are very welcome. I hope that is helpful for you. All right, so Ninja Educator shared, it is helpful to have multiple types of schedules, one for morning shift and one for evening shift. So remember, it's whatever works best for you. For this particular Ninja Educator, they wanted to have a schedule for both morning and evening. When I first started, I thought I had to do everything on Monday. But if you do one thing on Monday and something on Tuesday and something on Wednesday, that is a lot better. You spread it out, right? So not everything has to be done on Monday. Although it might feel that way, it doesn't have to be. You can spread it out so you don't overwhelm yourself. And then the third one says, I adjusted my daily schedule to make sure I set a block of time aside for each of my classes every day. It feels wonderful to have the clutter gone and have everything in one particular place. So if you're teaching multiple preps, like a lot of us online instructors do, it's important to set aside time to pay attention to each one of your classes. It's kind of like your students in your class. You may have heard, well, I've been working really hard in English, so I totally forgot about math. So it happens. It happens for our students, and it also happens for us. We're all human beings, and stuff happens. And this is one of those things, if you're not scheduling in time for each one of your classes, you can do that without even realizing. You can end up not spending enough time in one area. Communicator myth. If students need something, they will reach out to you. Their responsibility to call you if they need something. They're going to call you. Anyone agree with this? Anyone disagree with this? What are your thoughts on this statement here? If they need something, they are totally going to reach out to you. What do we think? Yeah, they might reach out to their peers. Alicia, yeah, some of them will wait until they are drowning, and then they might email or call. Some students will reach out, but not all. Most students will wait till the day it's due and then say they didn't understand. All right, if you have persistent students or those that are really self-motivated, those students will tend to reach out to you. Sometimes they'll reach out so much that, you see their number pop up and you feel like changing your phone number. Just kidding. But you know the ones that I'm talking about, right? There are a handful that will reach out to you, but there's also a very big handful that are not going to reach out. So here's what Ninja Educators had to say about this. about the communicator myth. They suggest constant weekly newsletters, daily messages, text messages for struggling kids, or just old school phone calls. You know, I always found by calling students, you get way more bang for your buck. You can take care of several things at one time other than just sending them an email over and over again. Like, honestly, if they're not responding to emails and you keep sending them, I think that's the definition of insanity, right? You keep doing the same thing over and over with getting the same result. So if you find yourself spinning your wheels, emailing, pick up that phone or send a text message. They tend to respond. Leslie, email is so last century. I agree. Parent communication. This Ninja Educator copies parents on every email. They send parents a copy of every graded assignment, right? And she frames the expectations early and lets the parents know where the students are. It's like team. We're in it together, not just, you know, me against them, not at all. It's teamwork. And then senior season. I'm curious, in Florida, we refer to the end of the school year as senior season. Is it the same everywhere else in the U.S. where you guys are from? I know a lot of you are from Texas, if not all. Do you guys call that senior season too? So very true. So you guys feel that pain around the end of the school year. Total senior season, senioritis. Yes. We feel it here in the Sunshine State. We're in this together. So when you get to that part of the year and you start to feel stressed and the seniors are driving you nuts, just know you have friends in Florida that are feeling the same way. So during that time, those Ninja educators will text seniors daily. You know, I put them on my cha-cha list. Cha-cha, C-H-A-C-H-A, call, harass, annoy. So when I tell a senior that they are put on my cha-cha list, they know they are going to hear from me some way, somehow, every single day. Or if it's a student who's not doing their work and they are placed on the cha-cha list, they are going to hear from me. And they will almost finish their class to spite me at that point. So keep that daily communication, if possible, open. I know in our world, it's not always reasonable to say I'm going to reach out to every single senior every single day, but kick it up a notch and try to reach out more often. Have you ever opened an email and felt like this? Just look at those pictures. Be honest. Anyone ever felt like this? Yep. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, sure. Yelling at the screen. Sometimes it's a blessing that we work online, right? That we're not standing in front of other people. I have a hard time controlling my facial expressions sometimes, and it is truly a blessing that I can be on the opposite side of a computer screen at certain times. So I want to take a moment to talk about this. When we are communicating with our students and our families, we can sometimes feel like this when it comes to responding to emails or receiving emails that we get from certain folks, right? The important thing, and I cannot stress this enough really, is be very selective in your battles. Sometimes it's okay to just have peace better than trying to prove yourself right. I mean, we're going to know that we're probably right. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. We're going to know we're probably right. But we don't have to fight that battle. It's okay if the person on the other end of the email doesn't get it. That's all right. But fighting with that person and trying to prove your point is not doing us any good. It's not moving us forward at all. So a suggestion that I have for you guys, and I learned the hard way because I would fight those battles, and I wanted to have that last word. Don't email me back, please, because if you have one more thing to say, I will respond. Oh, thank you. I always had to have that last word. I don't know why. My son has the same issue, so I have learned probably the hard way that it's not something that you have to have. So when you are getting those emails and you feel like you're going to respond this way, the very first thing that I would say to you is shut it down. Walk away. Do not respond right at that moment. Give yourself 24 hours to walk away and let it simmer with you and get in the right state of mind before you respond. Okay. The second thing I would suggest is sometimes a phone call is much better than responding in text. And that can be difficult because we don't want that confrontation, but a lot of times, you know, we're removed. They don't see our face. They don't see our facial expressions. They don't hear our voice. So it's very easy to take something out on somebody else when you don't have that personal connection. So when you call them and you actually can hear their voice and they can hear your voice, it can remove a lot of that and make it a better situation. I want to give you an example here. I'm going to read this like I am the most caring, thoughtful individual sending this email. I'm the teacher. I am sending this email out of total concern, okay? And as I'm typing the email, this is how it sounds to me in my head. I might have been referred to at one time as being Mary Poppins-ish. So this is my Mary Poppins way of reading this email as I'm writing it, okay? Hello, Miss Martin. Oh, I have been trying to reach you regarding Andrew's progress in his online math class. He has not been working for days, and nobody has returned any of my phone calls. If he doesn't start working soon, I'm going to have no choice but to remove him from my course. I would so like to talk to you about this, so please call me. Thanks, Miss Awesome Teacher. Okay? That's when I wrote that email, that's how it sounded to me in my head. Now, Miss Martin, she has worked a 10-hour day. She is exhausted. She had to stop at the grocery store on the way home. Andrew got a bad grade on one of his assignments at school, so she was bombarded by that. A teacher note because he flipped a booger on the kid next to him. She's just been bombarded with all of these things when she got off of her 10-hour workday. Miss Martin opens up this email, and this is what she hears. Hello, Miss Martin. I've been trying to reach you regarding Andrew's progress in his online math class. You know, he hasn't been working for days, and nobody has returned any of my phone calls. If he doesn't start working soon, I'm going to have no choice but to remove him from my course. I would like to talk to you about this, so please call me at 555-444-6789. Thanks, Miss Awesome Teacher. Do you guys see the difference in what was intended for that email to come across as and what that email may have been read as on the other end of the computer? Right? So our intent was caring. I'm concerned. I want to make sure that Andrew is okay. How it was perceived on the other end of the line was anything but that. Our tone in our head was that I really care about this kid. I want to make sure that everything is okay. But the tone in which it was received was, your kid's not working. What is going on? You haven't returned any of my phone calls, and I'm going to take his little butt out of the class. So in a situation like this, does everyone see where it might be a better option to actually make a phone call instead of responding to apparent when it comes to a student's progress, a student who is struggling. Sometimes picking up that phone is going to be a much better decision for everybody involved so that your tone is not misread. And I'd say keep that in mind in those touchy subjects or those touchy situations, especially when it's a student who's struggling in your class. Much better to make a phone call than send an email. Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. And stating, is everything okay, right? Always asking that question to make sure that everyone is doing all right. So, in the end, for this little section here, the biggie things to take away is the tone of your emails matter, and if it's something that is has to deal with student progress and a struggling student, I would suggest to give them a call. And if you get a nasty email or a nastygram and you're going to respond to it, give yourself some time before you do, so that you don't type something that you're going to regret later. And remember, it is not worth fighting or arguing via email. It's just not. You can know you're right in your head. That's what saves me. Know you're right. Move on. Move forward. That's the important piece. So Ninja Educator shared that they are a constant for their students. Their students say, I talk to them more than I talk to my classroom teacher. So stay on those kiddos, even if they're driving you crazy. Remember that sometimes knowing who the 10th president is important, but knowing why a kid hasn't logged into your class to submit work is even more important. Sometimes students need face-to-face, and if you're in a situation where you can offer that, it can be really powerful. So our teachers have opportunities to meet their students because they live locally, and if that relates to you, there's nothing wrong with that, meeting them face-to-face so they can put a face with a voice and see who that caring person is on the other end of the line. And it's helpful to send those weekly newsletters, daily messages, text messages for struggling kids, or just those messages to reach out and say hello. All right, we are in the home stretch. Can you give me a green check if so far these things are making sense and sticking with you and you've taken something that you can use once you leave here today in your own classroom? Awesome, I see lots of green checks. Thank you. That means at least 29 of you are not sleeping, and that makes me happy. Thank you so much for giving me that response. I appreciate it. Awesome. Okay, so last one in our ROCK method is the detective's myth. When online students disappear, they never come back. You know, those kids, they start off strong, and then all of a sudden, they're gone. They don't come back. So sad. This is the myth. Ninja educators say this. You know, virtual school is not for every child. I think we can all relate to that, right? We know those kiddos that we feel like this is probably not the best situation for them. But it is totally our job to make every child successful at it. That's what we're here for as teachers, as educators. We want to try everything that we can possibly do to make that child in our class successful at learning online. And it's not always going to be easy, but you're super people, superwomen, supermen, even to have this job, right? Exactly, Alicia, you can get them back, but sometimes you need a bigger, longer rope. Absolutely. Sometimes when those students disappear, it is such a simple issue. Maybe they forgot how to log in, or they don't have their username or password, or something really silly, but they're afraid to reach out and tell you this. So having that communication with them on a regular basis is important so you can catch those things, those really easy fixes. And it's the Ninja Educator shared that, it's important to be curious, get to the bottom of things. A student might tell you, oh, it's just too hard. But you might come to find out that it's got nothing to do with their lack of ability, that it could be something that you're not expecting at all. And I wanted to share a story with you that relates directly to that, okay? So, and this is a true story, and I've shared it with the teachers at our school because it just really left an impression on me that I don't think I'll ever forget. You know, there was a struggling student at our school, and a teacher reached out to me and said, you know, I've been trying to call this student, I've been trying to call the parent, and I haven't had any luck. Like, they're not picking up their phone for me anymore. Can you please reach out? So I did, and when I called the mom, she didn't recognize my phone number. I'm assuming that's the reason why she picked up for me, and you know, probably the only reason why she picked up for me. And when she picked up the phone, I always start my conversations with, hi, this is Mrs. Mosser with Pasco East School. You know, so-and-so teacher was concerned about Lisa in her English class. Is everything okay? And when I asked the mom that question, she immediately went into like hysterical crying on the phone with me. Now, I've never talked to this parent. I've never talked to the student, and here I have. I've asked one question, and I have caused this mother to go into hysterics on the phone. Totally threw me off, not gonna lie. Felt pretty bad that I was able to do that within 15 seconds of her picking up the phone. So I immediately asked her, like, oh my goodness, what is wrong? What's happening? Why, you know, I'm so sorry to have made you so upset. Well, come to find out that the reason why her daughter had not been conversing or, you know, keeping communication open with her online teachers is because the mom explained to me she was actually sitting in the parking lot of a gas station outside of her child's school. She was an 11th grader. They had been evicted from their house that they were renting, and they were living with a friend who did not live near the school. So they were out of zone, right? So they were hiding that fact. And I swore that I would never tell on her, and I didn't. And so each day she was driving her daughter to school, and then because they didn't have enough money to pay for gas, I mean, mom didn't have a job at that time, her mom would sit in the gas station parking lot for 6 hours while her daughter attended high school. And then when she was done, she would get her daughter and drive her back to where they were staying with friends. They didn't have money to pay for internet. So here I find out that this student, who we could have simply chalked up to being lazy, right, or not doing their online work and not being responsible, was actually going through a very difficult time. And that mom was super embarrassed. She did not want to share that information with anybody because it's embarrassing, right? She felt bad. So I would share with you that those students who disappear, you know, when we're at our wit's end with them, we can very easily chalk it up to them not doing the right thing and not being responsible. But if we dig a little deeper, right, and not given so easy, sometimes we can really get to the bottom of what's going on and help that student. We were then able to send that family gift cards for gas and food. Like, we were able to reach out to them and provide services to them that they weren't even aware were available to them. So I would stress to you guys, if you come across those students who disappear on you, make sure that you dig a little deeper to make, to make sure that they're not hiding behind their computer and something much more serious is happening other than them just not doing their schoolwork. Okay? So I'm going to get off that soapbox right now. So the Ninja educators shared that it's always important to find out why students are taking their online classes. You know, some families might be running from violent situations. You wouldn't think that to be the first thing as to why people are taking online classes, but you just never know. Students are doing it for a variety of reasons, so make sure that you find out what that reason is. And then understand the students. some of them are going through a lot of changes. Virtual school is new to them, so we need to, be understanding and give them a little extra TLC, right? Set the goals for them from the beginning. And absolutely, Alicia, our students come to us for a variety of reasons, and it's not always just because they need a credit for graduation. I mean, a lot of times it is, but other times it is not the case. So we really need to make sure we keep that in mind. If you want to be taken seriously with your online students, then please, you'll want to make sure that you're being consistent. If you are checking in on them and it's not on a consistent basis, they are going to know that. They are smart cookies, and they are going to figure it out, and you are not going to be taken serious. So please keep that in mind as well. Consistency is super important to teaching online, and that leads right back to those schedules. Be consistent with your schedules, and in the end, it's going to affect everything that you do. This is really one of our very last slides here, but I think it is a very important one, and this picture up here in the left-hand corner resonates strongly with me. As online teachers, we can easily compare ourselves to other teachers in our field, and sometimes we can see what cool things other teachers are doing and how they seem to do it with no problem. It's such an easy job for them, and here we are struggling. We're all on different journeys here, so please remember that. You are in a different place in your teaching journey than everybody around you, and it is definitely not a competition. We are all moving and wanting to do the same thing, what's best for our students, but we're all in different spots, and that's okay. That's to be expected. We're not all always going to be at the same place at the same time. Dream big and inspire others. You work online. You have such a huge resource right at your fingertips. So dream huge and try it. The worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out and you try something else. And inspire your students to do the same. That's important as kids for them to hear that, why not dream big and inspire, be positive for others. And then do the right thing even when no one is looking. And I think we're told this when we're kids, but I think it's just as important when we're adults. We don't have a supervisor breathing over our shoulders during the day in a lot of cases. So something that might seem to be a quick fix for something, we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, even if nobody is peering over our shoulders. That's an important piece to doing our job each and every day. And that, my friends, is about it. We are right at 12:30. If you would like to reach out to me for any reason, please feel free to take my information. If you scan that QR code, it's going to lift my information right up into your phone. So please go ahead and feel free to scan that and take down my email address if you'd like. But I am so honored to be here today presenting to each of you, and I really appreciate your time. And I hope that you walk away with something that you can use from this point forward. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Desiree. Thank you for attending this session, and thank you to Desiree for sharing your expertise. To receive your continuing professional education credits for attending this session, fill out the survey posted on the conference homepage, conference.txvsn.org. Your CPE certificates will be emailed to you within 2 weeks. To access the recording of this session, please visit the Conference tab on the conference homepage and click on the View Recorded Session. Transcripts of each session will be posted there as well. The next session will be at 1 p.m. Central Time, entitled Small Town Approach, World-Class Results. Thank you for attending the TxVSN Online Learning Conference. We hope you join us for next year's conference scheduled for June 21st through the 23rd of 2017.